A pregnant German shepherd was left hanging from barbed wire. What the baby did. Next, it moved everyone to tears. The story you're about to listen will leave you breathless with every turn. What happens when an innocent child faces danger to save a life? Get ready for a tale that will touch your heart and bring tears to your eyes. Make sure to like, share, and comment where you're watching from. Summer sunshine poured through the windows of Grandma Rose's old farmhouse as 6-year-old Emma sat at the kitchen table, swinging her legs impatiently. The ancient grandfather clock in the corner ticked away the seconds, its pendulum moving back and forth in a rhythm that seemed impossibly slow to the young girl. "Can I go outside now, Grandma?" Emma asked, her voice tinged with the special kind of whine that only children can perfect. Grandma Rose looked up from the dough she was kneading, flour dusting her weathered hands. "You can play in the yard, but don't go wandering off, you hear me? Stay where I can see you from the kitchen window." Emma nodded eagerly, already sliding off her chair. "I promise." "I mean it, Emma," Grandma Rose said, her voice growing serious. "There are all sorts of dangers on a farm. Wild animals, deep ponds, machinery." I know, Emma said, bouncing on her toes. "I'll be careful." "That's what your mother always said too, and she'd come home covered in mud with frogs in her pockets," Grandma Rose muttered, but there was fondness in her voice as she mentioned Emma's mom, who now worked as a veterinarian in the city. Emma darted out the back door, the screen door slamming behind her with a satisfying bang. The summer air hit her like a warm blanket, heavy with the scent of freshly cut grass and wildflowers. The farmyard stretched before her, familiar from her visits but still full of possibilities. For nearly an hour, Emma played contentedly in the yard, collecting interesting rocks and chasing butterflies. But eventually, the boundaries of the visible yard began to feel too small for her adventure-seeking spirit. She glanced back at the house. Through the kitchen window, she could see Grandma Rose bent over something on the counter, completely absorbed in her baking. Emma bit her lip. She'd promised to stay in the yard, but there was a small hill just beyond the old oak tree that had always intrigued her. Surely it wouldn't hurt to explore just a little further. She could be back before Grandma even noticed she was gone. Decision made, Emma crept toward the oak tree, then darted behind it. Her heart pounded with the thrill of disobedience as she climbed the gentle slope of the hill. At the top, she turned back to look at the farmhouse, which now seemed smaller and farther away than she'd expected. "I'll just look at what's on the other side, then go straight back," she whispered to herself. The view from the top of the hill revealed a meadow dotted with wildflowers, leading to a line of trees in the distance. A rusty barbed wire fence marked the boundary of Grandma's property. Emma was about to turn back when a sound stopped her cold. A whimper. Faint but unmistakable. Then another, slightly louder, more desperate. Emma tilted her head, listening. The sound came again, a pained, frightened animal cry from somewhere beyond the hill. Without thinking, she started down the far side of the hill, toward the sound. "Hello?" she called softly, though she knew an animal wouldn't answer. The whimpering grew louder as she approached the fence line. Emma pushed through tall grass, the stems tickling her bare legs below her shorts. The sound led her to a dip in the land, partially hidden by a cluster of bushes. What she saw next made her gasp. A large German shepherd was caught in the barbed wire fence. The dog hung awkwardly, its back legs tangled in the wire, which bit cruelly into its fur. Blood matted the animal's coat in several places. But what made Emma's eyes widen even more was the dog's belly, swollen and round. The animal was clearly pregnant. The German shepherd's eyes, intelligent and pain-filled, locked onto Emma's. In that gaze, Emma felt something pass between them, a desperate plea that transcended words. The dog whimpered again, a sound so full of suffering that Emma felt tears spring to her eyes. "Oh no," Emma whispered, taking a cautious step forward. "You poor thing." The dog's ears flattened against its head, and a low growl rumbled from its throat. Emma froze, her mother's warnings about approaching strange animals suddenly echoing in her mind. "It's okay," she said softly, remembering what her mom had taught her about scared animals. "I won't hurt you. I want to help." The growl intensified as Emma took another step closer. The dog's teeth flashed, white and dangerous. Fear prickled along Emma's spine, but the animal's obvious suffering kept her from running away. Instead, she slowly lowered herself to the ground, sitting cross-legged in the grass several feet from the trapped dog. The afternoon sun beat down on her head, but she didn't move. "My name is Emma," she said conversationally, as if introducing herself to a new friend at school. "My mom is a vet. That means she helps animals when they're hurt or sick. I wish she was here now. She'd know exactly what to do." The dog's growling subsided slightly, though its eyes remained wary. "You must be really scared," Emma continued. "I'd be scared too if I was stuck like that. It looks like it hurts a lot." The dog's ears twitched forward, listening. Emma remembered the sandwich Grandma had packed for her, peanut butter and strawberry jam on whole wheat. She slowly reached into her pocket and pulled it out, still wrapped in plastic. "Are you hungry? I have a sandwich we could share." She unwrapped it carefully, tore off a small piece, and gently tossed it toward the dog. It landed just within reach of the animal's front paws. The German Shepherd sniffed the offering suspiciously. "It's really good. Grandma makes the jam herself," Emma said, taking a bite of her portion to demonstrate. After a moment of hesitation, the dog stretched its neck and gobbled up the piece of sandwich. Emma smiled and tossed another, slightly closer to where she sat. For nearly 20 minutes, Emma repeated this process, talking softly and throwing bits of sandwich, each one a little closer to her than the last. The dog's growling stopped entirely, replaced by occasional whimpers when it shifted position and the barbed wire dug deeper. "I bet you have a name," Emma said, noticing a worn leather collar around the dog's neck. "I wish I could see what it says." She inched forward on her bottom, moving slowly enough that she hoped the dog wouldn't feel threatened. Finally, close enough to read the tarnished tag, she leaned forward slightly. "Bella," she read aloud. "Is that your name? Bella?" The dog's tail twitched weakly, a tiny wag that made Emma's heart soar. "That's a pretty name, Bella. It fits you." Emboldened by this progress, Emma moved closer still, now just an arm's length away from the trapped animal. Bella watched her, no longer growling, her eyes reflecting something that looked remarkably like hope. "I'm going to touch you now, okay? Just your head. I'll be super gentle." Emma extended her hand, palm up, fingers slightly curled, just as her mother had taught her. Bella sniffed her fingertips, her wet nose bumping against Emma's skin. Then, miraculously, the dog stretched her neck and pressed her head against Emma's palm. A lump formed in Emma's throat. The connection between them felt magical, important. Bella trusted her now. This wild, wounded creature had decided that Emma was safe. "I'm going to get you out of here," Emma promised, her voice thick with determination. "I don't know how yet, but I will." She carefully stroked Bella's head, her fingers gentle against the soft fur. The dog closed her eyes briefly, leaning into the touch despite her painful predicament. Looking more closely at the barbed wire, Emma could see how deeply it had become embedded in Bella's back legs. The sight made her stomach turn. How long had the poor dog been trapped here? Hours? Days? "You must be so thirsty," Emma realized suddenly. "And your puppies must be thirsty too." She had no water with her, and nothing to hold water in even if she could find some. The thought of leaving Bella, even briefly to get help, made her chest tight with worry. What if the dog gave up while she was gone? What if something happened to the puppies? "I need to try to get you free first," Emma decided, speaking as much to herself as to Bella. She looked around for something to use as a tool. A sturdy stick might help lift the wire away from Bella's legs. Emma spotted a fallen branch a short distance away and hurried to retrieve it. It was heavier than it looked, and she struggled to drag it back to where Bella waited. "I'm going to try to lift the wire," she explained, positioning the branch under the lowest strand of barbed wire. "Don't move, okay?" Emma pushed down on her makeshift lever, using all her weight. The branch bent, but didn't provide enough leverage to lift the wire significantly. Bella whimpered as the movement caused the barbs to shift against her wounds. "I'm sorry," Emma said quickly, easing off the pressure. "I didn't mean to hurt you more." She tried several more times with different branches, approaching the problem from different angles, but her small body simply didn't have the strength needed to free the dog. Frustration brought tears to her eyes, and she wiped them away with a dirty hand, leaving a smudge on her cheek. "I'm not strong enough," she admitted finally, her voice small, "but I'm not giving up." The sky, which had been perfectly blue when Emma first ventured out, now showed clouds gathering on the horizon. The distant rumble of thunder suggested a summer storm was approaching. "Oh no," Emma murmured, looking from the darkening sky to Bella's frightened eyes. Without hesitation, Emma slipped off her light jacket, her favorite one with unicorns on it, and carefully draped it over Bella's body, trying to provide at least some protection from the coming rain. "There," she said, tucking the edges around the dog. "That should help a little." Bella made a strange sound then, not quite a whimper, but a low, distressed groan. Her body tensed visibly, and her eyes widened. "What's wrong?" Emma asked, alarmed by the sudden change. The dog's belly rippled under the jacket, a visible wave moving across her swollen abdomen. Emma had seen something similar once, when her mom brought home videos of animal births to study. "Are your puppies coming now?" she gasped, panic rising in her chest. "Oh no, Bella. Not now. Not here." Another contraction visibly passed through Bella's body, confirming Emma's fears. The puppies weren't waiting for a rescue or a better situation. They were coming now, while their mother hung trapped in barbed wire, exposed to the elements with a storm approaching. "I need to get help," Emma said decisively. "I can't do this alone." She stroked Bella's head once more, looking directly into the dog's intelligent eyes. "I promise I'll come back. I promise on everything. I'll bring help, and we'll save you and your puppies." Bella whined softly, as if understanding. "Be brave," Emma whispered. "Just a little longer." As she stood to leave, Bella let out a sound that tore at Emma's heart, a high, mournful howl that seemed to contain all the dog's fear and pain. It was a sound of such profound desperation that Emma nearly changed her mind about leaving. But another distant roll of thunder decided for her. She had to get help, and fast. "I'll be back before you know it," she called over her shoulder as she began to run. Emma's legs pumped hard as she raced back up the hill, her lungs burning with the effort. The first fat raindrops began to fall as she crested the top, spotting the farmhouse in the distance. It seemed impossibly far away now, and Grandma Rose would be furious that she'd wandered so far. None of that mattered. All that mattered was Bella and her unborn puppies, hanging painfully from that terrible fence while the storm closed in. Emma ran faster than she'd ever run in her life, propelled by the memory of those trusting eyes and the promise she'd made. Behind her, almost lost in the growing wind, Bella's howl rose again, a lonely sound of fear and pain that would haunt Emma's dreams for years to come. But in this moment, it only made her run faster, determined to keep her promise to the wounded dog who had somehow, in the space of less than an hour, claimed a piece of her heart. Dark clouds gathered overhead, casting shadows across the meadow as Emma disappeared over the hill, her small figure determined and resolute against the approaching storm. The race to save Bella had begun. Emma's heart pounded in her chest as she sprinted toward Grandma Rose's farmhouse. The first heavy raindrops splashed against her face, mingling with tears of worry. Her legs burned with exertion, but the thought of Bella hanging helplessly from that barbed wire fence kept her moving forward. As she approached the farmhouse, she could see Grandma Rose on the porch, hands cupped around her mouth as she called Emma's name, her voice carried on the wind, tinged with fear and anger. "Emma! Emma, where are you? Grandma!" Emma shouted, waving her arms as she ran. "Grandma, I need help!" Grandma Rose's face transformed from worry to relief, then quickly back to anger as Emma reached the porch steps. "Where on earth have you been, young lady? I've been looking everywhere. I told you not to wander off." "Grandma, please," Emma gasped, trying to catch her breath. "There's a dog, a German shepherd. She's stuck in the fence at the edge of your property. She's hurt really bad, and she's going to have puppies." Grandma Rose's expression shifted from anger to skepticism. "A dog? Where exactly?" "Over the hill, by the barbed wire fence. Her name is Bella. She has a collar." Emma tugged at her grandmother's hand. "We have to help her, Grandma. She's in pain, and the puppies are coming." Grandma Rose frowned, pulling her hand free. "Emma, wild dogs can be very dangerous. If you found a stray, it could have rabies or be aggressive." "She's not wild. She has a collar, and she's scared, not mean. Please, Grandma, we have to help her." Thunder boomed overhead, making Emma jump. Grandma Rose looked at the darkening sky, then at her granddaughter's pleading face. "We're not going out in this storm," she said firmly. "I'll call animal control. They know how to handle these situations safely." "But they'll take too long," Emma protested, tears welling in her eyes. "Bella needs help now. Her puppies are coming now. "That's enough, Emma," Grandma Rose said, steering her inside. "You're soaking wet and covered in dirt. Go get cleaned up while I make the call." Emma watched helplessly as her grandmother picked up the phone and dialed. Through the kitchen window, she could see the rain falling harder now, sheets of water that would soak poor Bella despite the small protection of Emma's jacket. "They'll send someone out when the storm passes," Grandma Rose announced after hanging up. "Could be a few hours." "A few hours?" Emma repeated, horrified. "But Bella can't wait that long." "There's nothing else to be done, child. Now go wash your hands for dinner." Emma trudged to the bathroom, but she wasn't giving up. As she washed her hands, her mind raced with possibilities. Grandma Rose wouldn't help immediately, but Emma had made a promise to Bella. She wouldn't break it. While her grandmother busied herself in the kitchen, Emma slipped into the utility room. She knew Grandma kept emergency supplies there. Her small hands worked quickly, gathering items into an old backpack she found hanging on a hook. A flashlight, a first aid kit, a bottle of water, some clean towels. Most importantly, she spotted wire cutters hanging on the wall. They looked heavy and complicated, but she remembered her mother using similar tools when fixing the fence around their small suburban yard. Emma hesitated, knowing she was about to disobey her grandmother in a major way. But then she remembered Bella's trusting eyes, the way the dog had pressed her head against Emma's palm. She had to try. She waited until Grandma Rose went to check the oven, then slipped out the back door into the pouring rain. The wind whipped her hair around her face as she ran, the backpack bouncing against her shoulders. Lightning flashed across the sky, followed by a deafening crack of thunder that made her stumble. "I'm coming, Bella," she whispered, as if the dog could somehow hear her through the storm. By the time Emma crested the hill again, she was soaked to the skin and shivering. The rain had turned the gentle slope into a slippery mess, and she half ran, half slid down the other side. The approaching darkness made it difficult to see, but a flash of lightning illuminated the fence line, helping her find her way back to Bella. The scene that greeted her was worse than she'd feared. Bella was still hanging from the fence, but her body shook with contractions. The jacket Emma had left was soaked through, offering little protection. Worst of all, a small, wet bundle lay on the ground beneath Bella. The first puppy had already been born, directly into the mud and rain. "Oh no," Emma gasped, dropping to her knees beside them. She quickly pulled a towel from her backpack and gently picked up the tiny puppy. It was barely moving, its little body cold and wet. Emma wiped it dry as best she could, her hands trembling with cold and fear. She rubbed the small creature vigorously but gently through the towel, just as she'd seen her mother do with newborn kittens once. "Come on, little one," she pleaded. "Breathe properly." After what seemed like an eternity, the puppy gave a tiny squeak and began to move more vigorously. Relief flooded through Emma. She carefully placed the now dry puppy near Bella's head, where the mother dog immediately began to lick it, maternal instinct overcoming her painful situation. Emma turned her attention to the wire cutters. They were heavier than she'd expected, and her cold, wet hands struggled to position them on the barbed wire. The first attempt to cut through failed completely. She simply wasn't strong enough to close the handles fully. "I can do this," she told herself firmly, repositioning the cutters and using both hands to squeeze the handles together. This time, she felt the wire give slightly. Encouraged, she tried again, putting all her weight into the effort. Her hands ached from the strain, but she persisted, determined to free Bella before more puppies arrived. A contraction rippled through Bella's body, more intense than the previous ones. The dog whimpered loudly, her eyes wide with pain. Emma could see another puppy was on its way. "Hold on, Bella," she urged, working frantically with the wire cutters. "Just a little longer." The rain pounded down around them as Emma struggled. Her fingers slipped on the wet metal, and at one point, she cut her palm on one of the barbs. Blood mixed with rainwater, but she barely noticed the pain, so focused was she on her task. Lightning flashed again, closer this time, the accompanying thunder immediate and deafening. Bella howled in fear, the sound rising above the storm. Emma flinched but didn't stop working. Finally, with a snap that she felt more than heard, one strand of barbed wire gave way. Bella's position shifted slightly, but she was still caught by another section of wire. "One down, one to go," Emma murmured, moving the cutters to the next strand of wire. Before she could make progress, Bella's body tensed again. Another puppy was coming, and this time, Emma would need to help. Setting down the wire cutters, Emma positioned herself beneath Bella, ready to catch the newborn. She held another towel ready. Within minutes, a second tiny wet bundle slid into her waiting hands. This one wasn't moving at all. Panic gripped Emma's heart as she quickly dried the motionless puppy. "Please, please," she whispered, rubbing it through the towel as she had done with the first. Nothing happened. Tears mixed with rain on Emma's face as she continued her efforts. She remembered something her mother had mentioned once about newborn animals sometimes needing help to start breathing. Gently, so gently, she turned the puppy over and used her finger to clear its tiny mouth. Then, cupping the small creature in her hands, she brought it close to her face and gave the softest of puffs across its nose. For a horrible moment, nothing changed. Then, miraculously, the puppy twitched. A tiny pink tongue appeared, and a weak cry emerged. "Yes!" Emma exclaimed, continuing to dry and stimulate the puppy. "That's it! Good job." She placed the second puppy near its sibling by Bella's head, where the mother dog could clean and warm it with her tongue. Despite her predicament, Bella's maternal instincts were strong, and she immediately began tending to her newborn. The storm raged around them, but Emma had created a small island of determination amidst the chaos. She returned to the wire cutters, attacking the second strand of barbed wire with renewed vigor. This time, knowing the technique, she made faster progress. Her small hands ached with the effort, but she refused to give up. "Almost there, Bella," she encouraged, seeing the wire beginning to give. With one final, tremendous effort, Emma closed the handles of the wire cutters. The second strand of wire snapped, and Bella's back legs were finally free. The dog gave a yelp that was part pain, part relief, as the pressure suddenly released. "We did it!" Emma cried, dropping the wire cutters. Bella tried to move away from the fence, but her legs buckled beneath her. After being suspended for so long, she couldn't immediately stand. She whimpered in frustration, her body racked by another contraction. "It's okay," Emma soothed, moving to support Bella's body. "Let's get you a little farther from the fence." Using all her strength, Emma helped Bella drag herself a few feet away from the barbed wire. She spread out a remaining towel on a slightly less muddy patch of ground, creating a makeshift nest for the dog and her puppies. Carefully, she moved the two newborns to this drier spot, then helped Bella settle beside them. The rain had lessened somewhat, but the wind still whipped around them fiercely. Emma positioned herself to block as much of the elements as possible, using her small body as a shield for the dog family. Another contraction seized Bella, and a third puppy soon arrived. This time, Emma was prepared. She caught the newborn, dried it quickly, and was relieved when it immediately began squeaking and moving. She placed it with its siblings, where Bella continued her maternal duties despite her exhaustion. "You're doing so good, Bella," Emma praised, stroking the dog's wet head. "You're such a brave mom." As if in response, Bella lifted her head and licked Emma's hand in the midst of her pain. The gesture brought fresh tears to Emma's eyes, not tears of fear or frustration this time, but of connection. Even in her suffering, Bella was thanking her. A beam of light suddenly cut through the darkness, sweeping across the ground some distance away. Emma squinted against the brightness, unsure if it was friend or foe. "Emma!" a voice called out, barely audible above the wind. "Emma, are you out here?" "Here!" Emma shouted, waving her arms even though she didn't want to move from her protective position. "We're over here!" The light beam swung in their direction, and Emma could make out a figure approaching through the rain. As it drew closer, she recognized the distinctive shape of a truck in the background, its headlights illuminating the area. Fear suddenly gripped her. What if this was someone who wanted to hurt Bella? Grandma had mentioned dog thieves in the area before. Emma positioned herself more firmly in front of the dog and her puppies, determined to protect them. The figure came into full view, a tall man in a rain jacket, holding a powerful flashlight. He approached slowly, as if sensing Emma's wariness. "Hello there," he called, his voice gentle despite needing to be raised above the storm. "Are you Emma?" Emma didn't answer, still suspicious. The man stopped several feet away, respecting her caution. "My name is Jake," he said. "I was driving by when I saw your grandmother out in the rain, looking for you. She's worried sick." Emma remained silent, her body tense. "She told me you might be out here trying to help a dog," Jake continued, crouching down to appear less intimidating. "Is that who I see behind you?" How do I know you won't hurt her? Emma challenged, her voice small but fierce. Jake smiled slightly. That's a good question. You shouldn't trust strangers, but I promise I'm here to help. He reached slowly into his pocket and pulled out a wallet. Opening it, he held it where the flashlight could illuminate a photo. See, this is me with my dogs. I rescue animals. I'm a veterinarian. Emma peered at the photo, which showed the man surrounded by several happy-looking dogs of different breeds. Her defenses lowered slightly. Bella needs help, she admitted. She was caught in the fence, and now she's having puppies in the storm. Bella? Jake repeated, his voice suddenly strange. That's her name, Emma said, pointing to the collar. It says so on her tag. Jake moved the flashlight beam to illuminate the German Shepherd more clearly. His face paled visibly, even in the dim light. Oh my God, he whispered. Bella, is it really you, girl? To Emma's astonishment, Bella's tail began to thump weakly against the ground. A small whine escaped her throat, not of pain this time, but of recognition. You know her? Emma asked, confused. Jake nodded, emotion evident on his face even through the rain. She's my dog. She disappeared 3 weeks ago from my clinic. I've been searching everywhere for her. Emma's mouth fell open in surprise. You're her owner? Yes, Jake said, moving closer now, his eyes fixed on Bella. I've had her since she was a puppy. When she disappeared, I thought I'd never see her again. Bella's tail wagged more vigorously as Jake knelt beside her, his hands gently examining her wounds. The dog licked his hand frantically, clearly overjoyed, despite her pain. How did this happen? Jake asked, his professional demeanor taking over as he assessed Bella's condition. Emma explained everything, finding Bella caught in the fence, trying to free her, returning with supplies when her grandmother wouldn't help immediately. You did all this by yourself? Jake asked, amazement clear in his voice. How old are you? 6, Emma replied, but my mom's a vet too. I've watched her help animals lots of times. You're quite the hero, Jake said sincerely. Bella might not have survived without you, and certainly not her puppies. As if on cue, Bella's body tensed with another contraction. Jake quickly shifted into veterinarian mode, positioning himself to help. There's another one coming, he told Emma. Can you hold the flashlight for me? Emma took the flashlight, directing its beam where Jake indicated. She watched in fascination as the veterinarian expertly helped Bella deliver a 4th puppy, his movements confident and gentle. Is the puppy okay? Emma asked anxiously. Jake nodded, working quickly to clean the newborn. Perfect. A healthy little girl. Relief flooded through Emma. I was so scared when the second one wasn't moving at first. What did you do? Jake asked, placing the 4th puppy with its siblings. Emma described her actions, from drying the puppy to clearing its mouth and giving it a gentle puff of air. Jake looked at her with newfound respect. That was exactly right. You saved that puppy's life with quick thinking. Pride swelled in Emma's chest at the praise, but she was too cold and wet to fully enjoy it. She shivered violently, her teeth chattering. Jake noticed immediately. We need to get all of you out of this weather, he said decisively. I have blankets in my truck. Do you think you can help me carry the puppies? Emma nodded eagerly. Is Bella going to be okay? Her legs aren't working right. The circulation was cut off while she was hanging from the fence, Jake explained, already removing his jacket to wrap around Emma's shoulders. But it should return. I'll carry her. Together, they prepared to move. Jake gave Emma a small box lined with a soft blanket for the puppies, and she carefully placed all 4 tiny creatures inside, making sure they were warm and secure. Then Jake gently lifted Bella, who whimpered in pain but trusted her owner completely. They made their way slowly back toward Jake's truck, Emma holding the precious box of puppies while Jake carried Bella. The rain had finally stopped, though the wind still gusted around them. As they approached the vehicle, headlights appeared on the road, and a familiar station wagon pulled up beside Jake's truck. Grandma Rose emerged, her face a mask of fear and anger that dissolved into relief when she spotted Emma. Emma Marie Thompson, she cried, rushing forward. Do you have any idea how worried I've been? I called your mother. She's driving up from the city right now. I'm sorry, Grandma, Emma said, though she didn't feel very sorry at all. But I promised Bella I'd come back. Grandma Rose finally seemed to notice the box in Emma's arms and the large dog in Jake's. Her expression shifted from anger to astonishment. You actually found a dog? And puppies? "This is Bella," Emma explained proudly, "and her new babies. And this is Jake. He's a vet. And Bella is his dog. She went missing weeks ago." Jake stepped forward, still cradling Bella. "Your granddaughter saved my dog's life tonight, ma'am, and the lives of these puppies too. She's quite extraordinary." Grandma Rose's face softened as she looked from Jake to Emma to the box of puppies. "Well, I suppose we should get them all somewhere warm and dry." "I have a clinic just 20 minutes from here," Jake said. "I can take Bella and the puppies there to make sure they're all healthy. Emma is welcome to come along, with your permission, of course." "I've already called her mother," Grandma Rose said. "She should be here in about an hour." "Perfect timing," Jake smiled. "She can meet us at the clinic. I'd like to thank her for raising such a brave and compassionate daughter." Emma beamed despite her exhaustion and the chill that permeated her bones. As she climbed into Jake's truck with the box of puppies, she looked back at Bella, now wrapped in blankets in the truck bed where Jake had made a comfortable nest. "We did it, Bella," she whispered. "I told you I'd come back." Bella's tail thumped weakly in response, her eyes filled with what could only be described as gratitude. In that moment, Emma knew that sometimes breaking rules was necessary to keep the promises that truly mattered. What would you have done if you were Emma? Would you have risked disobeying your grandmother to save a life? Jake's truck bumped along the country road, windshield wipers still pushing away the last of the rain. Emma sat in the passenger seat, the box of puppies secure on her lap. Every few minutes she would peek under the blanket to check on them, marveling at the tiny creatures who had entered the world under such dramatic circumstances. "They're so small," she whispered, gently stroking one with her fingertip. "Newborn puppies always are," Jake said, glancing over with a smile. "But German Shepherd puppies grow fast. In a few weeks, they'll be tumbling all over each other." "Will they all be okay?" Emma asked, worry creeping into her voice. "They were born in the rain and everything." "Thanks to you, I think they have an excellent chance," Jake assured her. "You got them dry quickly, which is the most important thing. At the clinic, we'll get them warmed up properly and make sure they're nursing well." Emma nodded, relieved. She turned to look through the back window at Bella, who was lying on a thick bed of blankets in the covered truck bed. The mother dog seemed exhausted but more comfortable now that she was free from the fence. "How did Bella get lost?" Emma asked, turning back to Jake. Jake's expression grew serious. "She didn't get lost. She was stolen." "Stolen?" Emma's eyes widened. "Who would steal someone's dog?" "People who want to make money from puppies," Jake explained, his voice tight with controlled anger. "Bella is a purebred German Shepherd with an excellent bloodline. Her puppies would be worth a lot of money to the right buyers." "That's awful," Emma said, instinctively pulling the box of puppies closer to her chest. "It is," Jake agreed. "I run a small animal rescue along with my veterinary practice. About 3 weeks ago, someone broke in during the night. They took Bella and another pregnant dog, a Labrador. I've been searching ever since, but I never thought I'd find her like this." "What happened to her? How did she end up in the fence?" Jake shook his head. "I can only guess. Maybe she escaped from whoever took her and was trying to find her way home. Or ... His voice hardened. "Maybe they abandoned her when they realized she was going into labor. Caring for newborn puppies requires work and knowledge. It's easier for thieves to sell older puppies that are already weaned." Emma frowned, unable to comprehend such cruelty. "That's really mean." "It is," Jake agreed. "But thanks to you, Bella and her puppies are safe now." He glanced at her with sincere admiration. "What you did today was incredibly brave. Not many adults would have done what you did, let alone a 6-year-old. Emma beamed at the praise, though exhaustion was beginning to catch up with her. The adrenaline that had kept her going through the rescue was wearing off, leaving her cold, damp, and tired. She yawned widely, unable to help herself. "We're almost there," Jake said, noticing her fatigue. "Just a couple more minutes." True to his word, Jake soon turned the truck into a driveway marked by a wooden sign, Lakeside Veterinary Clinic and Animal Rescue. The building was smaller than Emma had expected, a converted farmhouse with a modern extension on one side. Lights glowed warmly from the windows, welcoming them in from the dark night. As Jake parked, a woman emerged from the front door, pulling a raincoat over her scrubs. She hurried to the truck as Jake stepped out. "Jake, where have you been? I was getting worried with this storm and—" She stopped abruptly when she saw Emma in the passenger seat. "Who's this?" "This is Emma," Jake said, opening Emma's door. "The hero of the night. "Emma, this is Maria, my veterinary technician." "Hello?" Emma said shyly. Maria smiled warmly at her before turning back to Jake with a questioning look. He leaned closer and said something in a low voice that Emma couldn't hear. Maria's eyes widened, and she immediately moved to the back of the truck. "You found Bella?" she exclaimed, her voice thick with emotion as she lowered the tailgate. "Oh my goodness, look at her! And she had her puppies?" "4 of them," Jake confirmed, helping Emma down from the truck with the precious box. "Born in a rainstorm while she was caught in a barbed wire fence. If it hadn't been for Emma here, we might have lost them all." Maria looked at Emma with newfound respect. "Well, let's get them inside and checked out. I'll prep the exam room." The next hour passed in a blur of activity. Jake carried Bella inside to a large examination room where Maria had already prepared a whelping box, a low-sided container lined with soft blankets, designed specifically for a mother dog and her puppies. Emma watched in fascination as Jake gently cleaned and treated the wounds on Bella's legs, where the barbed wire had cut into her flesh. "Will she be able to walk again?" Emma asked anxiously. "Absolutely," Jake assured her. "The cuts aren't too deep, and there doesn't seem to be any permanent damage to her muscles or tendons. She'll be sore for a while, but with proper care, she'll heal completely." Once Bella was settled, Jake examined each puppy individually, weighing them on a small scale and checking them for any signs of distress or abnormality. Emma stood on tiptoe to see better, utterly fascinated by the process. "All healthy," Jake announced finally, placing the last puppy back with its siblings. 3 females and 1 male, all good weights for newborns. You did an amazing job out there, Emma." Emma glowed with pride, though she could barely keep her eyes open now. The warmth of the clinic and the come-down from her adventure were making it hard to stay awake. Maria noticed and brought her a warm blanket and a cup of hot chocolate. "Why don't you rest on the couch in the waiting room?" she suggested kindly. "Your mom and grandma will be here soon." Emma wanted to protest. She didn't want to miss anything, but the couch looked incredibly inviting. She allowed herself to be led to the waiting room, where she curled up under the blanket, the hot chocolate warming her from the inside out. The last thing she remembered was Maria promising to wake her when her mother arrived. It seemed like only seconds later when Emma felt a gentle hand on her shoulder. She opened her eyes to see a familiar face smiling down at her. Her mother, still in her city clothes, hair windblown from the drive. "Mom!" Emma sat up quickly, the blanket falling away. "You're here. Did you see Bella and the puppies? Did Grandma tell you what happened?" "Slow down, sweetheart," her mother laughed, sitting beside her and pulling her into a tight hug. "Yes, Grandma called me, frantic because you disappeared in a storm. And yes, I've just been meeting Bella and her beautiful puppies." "Aren't they amazing?" Emma asked eagerly. "I helped them be born." "So I hear," her mother said, her voice a mixture of pride and lingering worry. "Dr. Monroe, Jake, has been telling me what an incredible thing you did tonight. You're not mad that I disobeyed Grandma?" Her mother's face grew serious. "We do need to talk about that, Emma. Going off alone in a storm was very dangerous. You could have been hurt." Emma's excitement dimmed slightly. "I know, but Bella needed me." "She did," her mother acknowledged. "And what you did was brave and compassionate. I'm very proud of your kind heart. But next time, please try harder to get an adult to help you first, okay?" "Okay," Emma agreed, relieved that she wasn't in too much trouble. "But you should have seen it, Mom. When the first puppy wasn't breathing right, I remembered what you did with the kittens at the clinic that time, and I—" She broke off as Jake appeared in the doorway, his face oddly tense. "Dr. Thompson," he said, addressing Emma's mother, "could I speak with you for a moment?" "Professionally?" Emma's mother squeezed her hand. "Wait here, sweetie. I'll be right back." Emma watched them disappear down the hallway, confusion and worry replacing her excitement. Had something happened to Bella or the puppies while she was asleep? She slipped off the couch, her tiredness forgotten, and tiptoed down the hall after them. She found the adults in Jake's office, their voices low but intense. Emma pressed herself against the wall just outside the door, straining to hear. "Definitely the same people," Jake was saying. "The description matches exactly." "But why would they come back?" Emma's mother asked. "Surely they'd know the puppies would be too young to take." "That's what worries me," Jake replied grimly. "If they're desperate enough to try again so soon, they might not care about the puppy's age. Or worse, they might be after Bella herself." "Have you called the police?" "Right before you arrived. They're sending someone out, but with the storm damage around the county, it might be a while. Emma's heart raced as she processed their words. The people who had stolen Bella were coming back. They might try to take her and the puppies again. A surge of protective anger rose in her chest. She wouldn't let that happen. Just then, Grandma Rose appeared at the end of the hallway. Emma quickly stepped away from the office door, trying to look innocent. "There you are," Grandma Rose said, beckoning her. "Come see what Maria is doing with the puppies." Emma followed her grandmother back to the exam room, where Maria was showing Bella how to nurse her puppies properly. Despite her injuries, the mother dog was doing her best to care for her babies, licking them clean and nudging them toward her belly. "She's a natural mom," Maria smiled, looking up as they entered. "Once she's fully recovered, she'll be excellent with them." Emma moved closer, watching in fascination as the tiny puppies, eyes still closed, squirmed and squeaked while seeking milk. "They're so hungry. They'll nurse every few hours," Maria explained. "It's important that they all get enough milk, especially in these first days." The peaceful scene was suddenly interrupted by the sound of gravel crunching outside, vehicles pulling into the clinic's parking lot. Maria frowned, glancing at her watch. "That's strange. We don't have any emergency appointments, and it's well after closing time." She moved to the window and peered out, then stepped back quickly, her face pale. "Those aren't police cars. Jake!" she called out sharply. "We have company." Jake and Emma's mother rushed into the room, responding to the urgency in Maria's voice. Jake joined her at the window, then swore under his breath. "It's them," he said grimly. "2 trucks, at least 3 men. They must have been watching the place, waiting for Bella to be found." Emma's mother immediately pulled Emma close. "What do we do?" Jake moved quickly. "All business now. Maria, take Bella and the puppies to the isolation room at the back. It has a secure door. Dr. Thompson, you and Emma go with her. Mrs. Rose, you come with me. We'll try to stall them until the police arrive." "I'm staying with Bella," Emma protested, but her mother's grip on her shoulder tightened. "Not this time, sweetheart. These are dangerous people." Before Emma could argue further, the sound of the clinic's front door opening silenced everyone. Heavy footsteps moved through the waiting room. "Hello?" a deep voice called out. "Anybody working late? Got an emergency with my dog." The false friendliness in the voice made Emma shiver. Jake motioned urgently for Maria to move. With practiced efficiency, Maria scooped the puppies into a small carrier, then helped Bella to her feet. The dog was wobbly, but managed to follow Maria with gentle encouragement. Emma's mother guided Emma after them, a finger to her lips signaling for absolute quiet. They slipped through a back door into a narrow hallway that Emma hadn't noticed before. Maria led them to a room at the very end, its door heavier than the others. Once inside, Maria locked the door behind them and turned on a small desk lamp that cast just enough light to see by without showing under the door. "The isolation room is for animals with contagious conditions," she whispered, settling Bella and her puppies in a corner. "The walls are soundproof to reduce stress, and the door is reinforced." "Will Jake and Grandma be okay?" Emma asked, her voice small with fear. "Your grandmother is tougher than she looks," her mother assured her, though Emma could hear the worry in her voice. "And Jake knows how to handle difficult people." The minutes crept by with excruciating slowness. Emma sat beside Bella, one hand resting gently on the dog's head. Bella seemed to sense the tension in the room, her ears pricked forward, listening intently despite her exhaustion. "Why do they want Bella so badly?" Emma whispered to Maria. "There are other German shepherds, aren't there?" Maria nodded, keeping her voice low. "Bella isn't just any German shepherd. She comes from a long line of award-winning dogs. Her puppies could sell for thousands of dollars each to the right buyers. But more than that," she hesitated, glancing at Emma's mother. "More than that, what?" Emma pressed. Maria sighed. "Bella was a service dog before Jake adopted her. She was trained to detect seizures in children. She can sense when they're about to happen and alert caregivers. It's a rare and valuable skill, one that takes special training and a special dog." "She helps sick kids?" Emma's eyes widened. "She did," Maria confirmed. "Jake was planning to train her puppies for the same work. That's why he's so protective of them. They're not just pets. They could eventually help save lives." Emma looked at Bella with newfound admiration. The dog gazed back at her with those intelligent, trusting eyes that had first captured Emma's heart by the fence. Now Emma understood the depth of what she had saved. Not just a dog and her puppies, but potentially a legacy of service and life-saving. A sudden crash from somewhere in the clinic made them all jump. Raised voices followed, too muffled by the soundproofed walls to make out the words, but the anger in them was unmistakable. "I'm calling 911 again," Emma's mother said, pulling out her phone. Before she could dial, the clinic's lights went out, plunging the building into darkness except for the small desk lamp in their room. Maria inhaled sharply. "They've cut the power," she whispered. "The emergency generator should kick in for the critical care areas, but not here." "Does that mean the electronic lock on this door won't work?" Emma's mother asked, her voice tight with fear. "The lock is mechanical, thankfully. But the security system—" Maria didn't finish the thought. Another crash sounded, closer this time, followed by the splintering of wood. They were breaking down doors, searching room by room. Emma's heart pounded so hard she was sure everyone could hear it. She wrapped her arms around Bella's neck, seeking comfort as much as giving it. The mother dog pressed against her, a low growl rumbling in her throat. "What do we do?" Emma whispered. Maria moved to a cabinet on the far wall, unlocking it with a key from her pocket. "We have a back exit from this room. It leads directly outside. It's for evacuating animals in case of fire." She pulled out a flashlight and flicked it on. "But we need to be absolutely silent. Sound carries in the night." "What about Jake and Grandma?" Emma's mother protested. "Jake would want us to get Bella and the puppies to safety," Maria said firmly. "That's what these men are after. If we can get them away—" She didn't need to finish. Emma's mother nodded reluctantly, gathering Emma close. "Stay right with me," she whispered in Emma's ear. "Don't make a sound." Maria carefully opened a door that had been disguised as part of the wall. Beyond it was a narrow passage, barely wide enough for an adult. She motioned for them to follow, then gently urged Bella to her feet. The dog struggled, still weak from her ordeal and the birth. "Can you carry the puppies?" Maria asked Emma's mother, holding out the carrier. She nodded, taking the precious cargo while Maria supported Bella. They moved into the passageway, Maria leading with the flashlight, Emma's mother in the middle with the puppies, and Emma bringing up the rear, one hand resting on Bella's back to encourage her. The passage seemed endless, the air growing cooler as they apparently moved away from the main building. Finally, Maria stopped at what looked like a dead end. "Fire exit," she whispered, pushing against a panel. It swung outward, revealing the night sky, now cleared of storm clouds and sprinkled with stars. One by one, they slipped outside into a small fenced area behind the clinic. Beyond the fence lay woods, dark and dense. "My truck is parked back here," Maria whispered. "If we can reach it without being seen." A shout from the side of the building made them all freeze. Flashlight beams cut through the darkness, sweeping across the grounds. "Check the back!" a rough voice commanded. "They've got to be here somewhere!" "Run!" Maria hissed, pushing them toward a gap in the fence. "Head for the woods. I'll try to draw them away." "We can't leave you," Emma's mother protested. "I know this land better than they do," Maria insisted. "Go! I'll meet you at the old groundskeeper's cottage, half a mile straight that way." She pointed toward a barely visible path into the trees. Before they could argue further, Maria was moving away, deliberately making noise as she circled around toward the parking area. The flashlight beams immediately swung in her direction. "There!" someone shouted. Emma's mother didn't waste the opportunity. Clutching the carrier with the puppies, she pulled Emma through the gap in the fence. Bella followed, moving more strongly now, as fear and protective instinct lent her strength. They plunged into the darkness of the woods, the path barely visible in the faint starlight. Behind them, angry voices and the sound of pursuit faded as the men followed the decoy Maria had provided. Emma's heart pounded as she stumbled along, holding tightly to her mother's hand with one of hers and keeping the other on Bella's back. The forest floor was soft with pine needles, muffling their footsteps, but branches caught at their clothes and hair, and roots threatened to trip them in the darkness. "Mom?" Emma gasped after several minutes of headlong flight. "I can't run anymore." "Just a little further," her mother encouraged, though she too was breathing hard. "We need to find that cottage Maria mentioned." They pushed on, the path winding deeper into the woods. Bella kept pace beside them, her maternal instinct driving her to stay with her puppies, despite her injuries and exhaustion. Just when Emma thought she couldn't take another step, the trees thinned, revealing a small clearing. In the center stood a tiny stone building, its windows dark but its outline clear against the night sky. "That must be it," Emma's mother whispered, relief evident in her voice. They approached cautiously, alert for any sign of danger. The cottage door was locked, but Emma's mother found a key hidden under a stone by the step, exactly where Maria had once mentioned the spare was kept during an earlier conversation. Inside, the cottage was musty but dry. Emma's mother used the flashlight on her phone to locate an old oil lamp, which she quickly lit. The warm glow revealed a single room with basic furniture, a small bed, a table with chairs, and a wood stove. "What do we do now?" Emma asked, sinking onto the bed in exhaustion. "We wait," her mother replied, setting the puppy carrier on the table and helping Bella climb onto the bed beside Emma. "The police will come, and Jake and Maria know where we are." "What about Grandma?" Emma's voice quavered slightly. "Your grandmother is stronger and smarter than any of those men," her mother said confidently, though Emma could hear the worry she was trying to hide. "She'll be fine." Emma wasn't convinced, but she was too tired to argue. She curled up beside Bella, one arm draped over the dog's neck. Despite everything, a sense of accomplishment filled her. She had saved Bella and her puppies, not once but twice in one night. Whatever happened next, that was something no one could take away from her. As her eyes drifted closed, the last thing she saw was her mother checking on the puppies, making sure they were warm and secure. The sight filled her with a sense of rightness and safety that even the danger outside couldn't diminish. Have you ever risked everything to save something precious? What would you do if you were in Emma's shoes right now? Emma woke with a start, momentarily confused by her unfamiliar surroundings. The stone cottage was dimly lit by the oil lamp, which had been turned down to a soft glow. Bella still lay beside her on the narrow bed, the dog's body warm against her side. Outside, the first hints of dawn were beginning to lighten the sky, visible through the small window. "Mom," Emma called softly, sitting up when she didn't immediately see her mother. "I'm here, sweetheart," came the reply, as her mother emerged from the shadows in the corner of the room. She looked tired but alert, a makeshift weapon, a heavy piece of firewood, held loosely in one hand. "I was just checking outside, all quiet so far." Emma rubbed her eyes. "Has Maria come back, or Jake and Grandma?" Her mother shook her head, worry evident in the tight lines around her mouth. "Not yet, but that's not necessarily bad news. They might be waiting for daylight, or for the police to arrive." A soft whimpering drew their attention to the table where the puppy carrier sat. One of the tiny puppies was squirming restlessly, its small cries growing more insistent. Bella immediately responded, trying to stand despite her injured legs. "They're hungry," Emma's mother said, moving to help Bella down from the bed. It's been several hours since they nursed. Together, they created a comfortable spot on the floor for Bella and her puppies, using an old blanket they found in a chest. The mother dog settled gratefully, and Emma's mother carefully transferred each puppy to Bella's side, where they immediately began rooting for milk. "They know exactly what to do," Emma marveled, watching the blind newborns navigate by instinct and scent. "Nature is pretty amazing that way," her mother agreed, a smile briefly lighting her tired face. "Animals are born knowing so much more than humans." They sat in companionable silence for a while, watching the feeding puppies. The peaceful scene was a stark contrast to the danger they had fled just hours before, and Emma found herself relaxing despite their uncertain situation. A sudden noise outside shattered the tranquility, the snap of a twig, too deliberate to be caused by wildlife. Emma's mother immediately extinguished the lamp, plunging the cottage into the gray half-light of dawn. She motioned for Emma to stay back as she moved cautiously to the window, peering out from the edge of the tattered curtain. "Can you see anything?" Emma whispered, her heart racing. "Someone's out there," her mother confirmed, her voice barely audible, moving through the trees toward the cottage. Emma crept to Bella's side, instinctively placing herself between the dog family and the door. Bella had gone rigid, her ears pricked forward, a low rumble building in her chest. "Shh," Emma soothed, though her own hands were trembling. "It's okay." The doorknob turned slowly, the ancient mechanism grinding in protest. Emma's mother raised the piece of firewood, positioning herself to strike if necessary. Emma held her breath, her body tense with fear. The door swung open. "Hello?" a soft voice called. "Doctor? Thompson? Emma? Are you in here?" "Maria!" Emma's mother gasped in relief, lowering her makeshift weapon. "Thank goodness!" Maria slipped inside, closing the door behind her, She looked disheveled, with leaves in her hair and a tear in her scrubs, but otherwise unharmed. "I'm so sorry it took me so long," she said, accepting the fierce hug Emma's mother gave her. "I had to make sure I wasn't being followed." "What happened?" Emma asked, moving forward now that the immediate danger had passed. "Did they chase you?" Maria nodded grimly. "All the way to the main road. I managed to lose them by doubling back through the woods, but I've been circling around for hours to make sure they weren't tracking me." "What about Jake and Grandma?" Emma's mother asked urgently. Maria's expression grew serious. "The police arrived just as the men were forcing Jake to open the isolation room. When they realized it was empty, they were furious. One of them grabbed your mother," she said, looking at Emma. "Jake intervened, and there was a struggle." Emma's heart seemed to stop. "Are they okay?" "Your grandmother is fine," Maria assured her quickly. "She's tougher than she looks. Hit one of the men with her purse so hard he fell over. The police arrested all three of them. Jake got a black eye in the scuffle, but he's all right." Relief washed over Emma so intensely that she felt her knees weaken. She sat down on the floor beside Bella, who had relaxed at the sound of Maria's familiar voice. "The police want to speak with all of you," Maria continued, "and Jake is frantic to check on Bella and the puppies. They're waiting at the clinic now. The police have officers stationed there in case any more of these guys show up." "Is it safe to go back?" Emma's mother asked. Maria nodded. "The police escort is waiting for us at the edge of the woods. I came ahead to make sure you were still here." Emma helped gather the puppies back into their carrier, while her mother and Maria assisted Bella to her feet. The dog was stronger this morning, able to put more weight on her injured legs, though she still moved with obvious pain. "You're so brave," Emma told her, stroking her head. "Just like my mom says, a mother should be." The journey through the woods was much easier in the growing daylight. The path that had seemed so treacherous the night before was revealed to be a well-maintained trail, winding between tall pines and flowering dogwoods. Under different circumstances, Emma might have enjoyed the walk, but worry for Jake and Grandma Rose propelled her forward at a pace that had Maria calling for her to slow down. "They're fine, Emma," she reminded her. "The danger is over. The men are in custody." But Emma wouldn't be completely convinced until she saw for herself. When they finally emerged from the trees and spotted the police cruiser waiting on the service road, with an officer standing beside it, she felt only a momentary twinge of fear before recognition set in. "That's Officer Mitchell," Maria said with obvious relief. "He's a friend of Jake's, brings his K-9 partner to our clinic for checkups." Officer Mitchell approached them with a reassuring smile. "Glad to see you all safe and sound," he said, crouching to greet Bella. "And you too, girl. You've had quite an adventure, haven't you?" The ride back to the clinic was brief but tense, with Emma scanning the landscape for any sign of danger despite the officer's assurances. When the clinic finally came into view, with its lights blazing in the early morning sunshine, she nearly cried with relief at the sight of Jake's truck still parked out front, alongside Grandma Rose's station wagon. "They're still here," she breathed. The clinic door flew open as their police cruiser pulled up. Jake emerged first, sporting an impressive purple bruise around his left eye, followed by Grandma Rose, who looked remarkably composed, despite having apparently spent the night at a veterinary clinic during a criminal incident. Emma was out of the car almost before it stopped, running toward them. "Grandma! Jake! You're okay!" Grandma Rose caught her in a fierce hug, holding her so tightly that Emma could barely breathe. "Of course we are," she said, her voice gruff with emotion. "Takes more than a few dog thieves to get the better of me." Jake laughed, though the sound was slightly strained. "Your grandmother is being modest. She was absolutely heroic. Without her quick thinking, things might have gone very differently." Emma looked up at her grandmother with newfound respect. "Really? What did you do?" A hint of pride crossed Grandma Rose's face. "Well, when they started getting rough with Jake here, I remembered something your grandfather taught me. A good swing with a heavy handbag can take a man down if you hit him just right." "She knocked him cold," Jake confirmed, admiration clear in his voice. "Gave me the chance to get to the phone and call in our location to the police dispatch." "I wish I could have seen that," Emma said, picturing her seemingly frail grandmother taking down a criminal with nothing but her purse. "Never underestimate old ladies, child," Grandma Rose said with a wink. "We've seen a thing or two in our time." Their reunion was interrupted by Officer Mitchell clearing his throat. "Sorry to break this up, but I need to take statements from all of you. And Dr. Monroe, the chief wants an update on the condition of the evidence. Evidence? Emma repeated, confused. He means Bella and her puppies, Jake explained. They're evidence in the case against the dog theft ring. But more importantly, he added, his voice softening, they're family. Let's get them inside and properly checked out. The next few hours passed in a flurry of activity. The clinic became the center of an investigation, with police officers coming and going, taking statements and photographs. Emma watched it all with wide eyes, sitting in a corner of the exam room where Jake was giving Bella and her puppies a thorough examination. They're all doing remarkably well, considering the circumstances, he reported, gently placing the last puppy back with its mother. Bella's wounds are clean, no sign of infection. The puppies are all nursing well and have good weight. You did an amazing job with them, Emma. Emma beamed at the praise. Will they all be okay now? Better than okay, Jake assured her. Once Bella's legs heal, she and the puppies will come home with me. I've got a perfect setup for them at my house. Will you train the puppies to help kids like Bella used to? Emma asked, remembering what Maria had told them. Jake looked surprised. Maria mentioned that, did she? Yes, that's the plan. Bella has a special gift for sensing when someone is about to have a seizure. If even one of her puppies inherits that ability, they could make a tremendous difference in a child's life. Emma nodded, a thought forming in her mind. That's why those men wanted her so badly, isn't it? Not just because her puppies would sell for a lot of money, but because of what she can do. You're a very perceptive young lady, Jake said, regarding her thoughtfully. Yes, that's exactly it. Dogs with Bella's abilities are rare and incredibly valuable. The right people would pay a fortune for puppies from her bloodline, especially if they showed signs of having the same gift. That's so wrong, Emma said with the straightforward moral certainty of childhood. Those puppies should be helping kids, not making money for bad people. And they will, Jake promised, thanks to you. A commotion in the reception area drew their attention. Emma's mother appeared in the doorway, her expression a mixture of exasperation and amusement. Emma, there's someone here to see you. A reporter from the local newspaper heard about what happened and wants to interview the hero child who saved a service dog and her puppies from dog thieves during a storm. Those were her exact words. Emma's eyes widened. Me? On the news? Only if you want to, her mother assured her. You don't have to talk to them. Actually, Jake interjected, it might be good if she did. The more publicity this case gets, the more pressure there will be on the authorities to crack down on dog theft rings like this one. Plus, he added with a grin, Emma really is a hero. She deserves recognition for what she did. Emma thought about it for a moment. Will Bella and the puppies be in the newspaper too? I imagine they'd want a photo. Yes, her mother said. Then I'll do it, Emma decided, but only if the story helps other dogs like Bella. The reporter, a kind-faced woman named Miss Chen, seemed enchanted by Emma and her tale. She listened intently as Emma recounted finding Bella trapped in the fence, building trust with the frightened dog, and returning with supplies to help deliver the puppies in the storm. What made you go back when your grandmother told you not to? Miss Chen asked. Emma considered the question seriously. I made a promise to Bella, she said simply. I told her I'd come back and help her. It doesn't matter if someone is a person or an animal. A promise is a promise. That's a very mature perspective, Miss Chen remarked, jotting notes. Were you scared? Sometimes, Emma admitted, especially when the second puppy wasn't breathing right away. And later, when the bad men came to the clinic. But being scared doesn't mean you can't also be brave. That's what my mom always says. The interview continued for nearly half an hour, with Miss Chen asking thoughtful questions and Emma answering with the unfiltered honesty of childhood. By the end, even the photographer, a usually stoic man according to Ms. Chen, was wiping away a suspicious moisture from his eyes as he captured images of Emma sitting beside Bella, surrounded by the tiny puppies. This story is going to touch a lot of hearts, Ms. Chen said as she packed up her notebook. Thank you for sharing it with me, Emma. After the reporters left, a strange quiet fell over the clinic. The police had taken their statements and departed, promising to keep them updated on the case. Maria was busy with regular clinic duties, as some patients had begun to arrive despite the eventful night. Jake disappeared into his office to make some calls, leaving Emma, her mother, and Grandma Rose alone in the break room with Bella and her puppies. I suppose we should head home, Grandma Rose said, though she made no move to get up from her chair. It's been quite a night. I don't want to leave Bella, Emma confessed, sitting cross-legged on the floor beside the dog's bed. Not yet. Her mother and grandmother exchanged a look, one of those mysterious adult communications that Emma didn't fully understand but recognized from long experience. Perhaps we could stay another day, her mother suggested. I'd like to monitor Bella's progress anyway, professionally speaking, and I'm sure Jake wouldn't mind the extra help around the clinic while he deals with the aftermath of all this. It would be nice to see the puppies properly settled, Grandma Rose agreed, surprising Emma with her change of heart. And I suppose Emma has earned the right to stick around a bit longer, after all she's done. Emma could hardly believe her good fortune. Really? We can stay? Just for a day or two, her mother cautioned. I do have to get back to my practice eventually. But yes, we can stay. Joy bubbled up in Emma's chest. More time with Bella and her puppies. More time to make sure they were truly safe and recovering well. She stroked Bella's head gently, and the dog responded with a soft lick to her hand, the same gesture of connection they had shared by the barbed wire fence, now transformed from desperation to affection. Jake returned, his face brightening at the domestic scene before him. Good news, he announced. The police caught a fourth member of the theft ring trying to flee the county. With his arrest, they believe they've broken up the entire operation. That is good news, Emma's mother said with evident relief. There's more, Jake continued, sitting down at the table. The publicity from this case has already generated interest. My phone's been ringing all morning. Donations for the animal rescue, offers of support for our service dog training program, even a call from a children's hospital wanting to partner with us. All because of Bella and her puppies, Grandma Rose asked. All because of Emma, Jake corrected, looking directly at the little girl. Your courage has created a ripple effect that's going to help a lot of animals and people for years to come. Emma blushed, unaccustomed to such praise. I just did what anyone would do. No, Jake said firmly. You did what very few people would do. You saw a creature in need, and you put aside your own comfort and safety to help. That's the definition of heroism, Emma. Before Emma could respond, a small sound from the puppy bed caught everyone's attention. The little male puppy, the smallest of the litter, had somehow wriggled away from his siblings and was determinedly crawling toward Emma, his tiny nose working furiously to follow her scent. Well, look at that, Jake said softly. Seems like someone's imprinted on you already. Emma carefully picked up the puppy, cradling him in her palms. He was so small, so perfect, dark fur already showing the distinctive German Shepherd markings, tiny paws that would one day be powerful and strong. The puppy nuzzled against her thumb, making contented little sounds. What does that mean, imprinted? Emma asked, not taking her eyes off the tiny creature in her hands. It means he recognizes you as someone special, Jake explained. Animals, especially young ones, form strong attachments to those who care for them in their earliest days. This little guy knows you helped bring him into the world. A thought occurred to Emma then. Impossible, impractical, yet so compelling that she couldn't keep it to herself. Could he be mine? She asked, looking up at her mother with hopeful eyes. When he's old enough to leave Bella, I mean. The adults exchanged another of those complex looks. Honey, her mother began gently, a puppy is a huge responsibility, especially a large breed like a German Shepherd. And these puppies are special, meant for service work. Jake has plans for them. Actually, Jake interjected, surprising them all, I've been thinking about that. Not all puppies in a litter, even from working lines, end up being suited for service work. Some just don't have the temperament or abilities needed, even with the best training. This little fellow, being the runt, might not be the best candidate for a working life. Hope bloomed in Emma's chest. So, he could be a pet instead? Potentially, Jake nodded. We won't know for sure until he's older, and we can assess his aptitudes. But if he doesn't show the right traits for service work, he would need a good home with someone who understands and appreciates his heritage. Someone who has already proven they know how to care for a dog with dedication and love. Emma looked pleadingly at her mother. I could learn everything about taking care of him. I'd read all the books and help with training and walking and everything. Her mother sighed, but there was a smile lurking at the corners of her mouth. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. The puppy needs to stay with Bella for at least 8 weeks, preferably longer. And we'd need to see if he's suitable as a pet rather than a service dog, as Jake said. But it's possible, Emma pressed, wanting that small concession at least. It's possible, her mother agreed cautiously. We'll talk about it more as the time approaches. For now, let's focus on making sure Bella and all her puppies stay healthy and strong. Emma was content with that answer. She gently returned the small puppy to his mother's side, watching as he immediately snuggled against Bella's warm fur. Possibility was enough for now. The possibility of a continued connection to this miraculous night, to Bella and her puppies, to the unexpected adventure that had changed something fundamental in Emma's understanding of herself and the world. Later that evening, as the clinic quieted for the night, Emma sat beside Bella's bed, keeping a self-appointed vigil while the adults prepared dinner in the break room. The puppies were nursing contentedly, their tiny bodies secure against their mother's side. "You're a good mom," Emma told Bella softly, stroking the dog's silky ear. "Even when you were hurt and scared, you took care of your babies." Bella's intelligent eyes met Emma's, and there was something in that gaze that transcended the boundaries between species. A recognition, a connection, a shared understanding of what it meant to protect those you love, no matter the cost. "I'm going to make sure you're all safe forever," Emma promised, a solemn vow from a 6-year-old heart that had already shown its capacity for courage and compassion. "And maybe, if everything works out right, one of your puppies will come home with me someday. Wouldn't that be amazing?" Bella's tail thumped gently against the bed in what Emma chose to interpret as agreement. The dog rested her head against Emma's knee, a gesture of trust that felt like a benediction. Outside the window, the sun was setting on what had begun as the most frightening night of Emma's young life, and was ending as perhaps the most meaningful. There would be more challenges ahead, the puppies' growth and training, decisions about their futures, the legal proceedings against the dog thieves. But in this quiet moment, with Bella's head warm and heavy against her leg, Emma felt a profound sense of peace. She had made a difference. She had kept her promise. And in doing so, she had discovered a strength within herself that she never knew existed. If you could name one of Bella's puppies, what would you call it and why? 6 months had passed since that stormy night when Emma found Bella caught in the barbed wire fence. Autumn had painted the countryside in shades of gold and crimson, and a crisp breeze rustled the remaining leaves as Emma climbed out of her mother's car in front of Jake's house. "Do you think he's grown since last week?" Emma asked eagerly, barely waiting for her mother to turn off the engine before unlatching her seatbelt. Dr. Thompson laughed. "Puppies do tend to grow quickly at this age, but I doubt you'll see a dramatic difference in just 7 days." Emma was already racing up the path to Jake's front door, too excited to moderate her pace. This weekly visit had become the highlight of her life, a chance to see Bella and her puppies, especially the smallest one that Jake had officially started calling Emma's puppy. The door opened before she could knock, Jake's smiling face greeting her. "There she is, right on time as usual. Someone's been waiting impatiently for you." A small ball of black and tan fur shot past Jake's legs, barreling toward Emma with unbridled enthusiasm. The puppy, no longer tiny but still smaller than his siblings, launched himself at her, nearly knocking her over in his excitement. "Hero!" Emma exclaimed, kneeling to accept the puppy's exuberant greeting. "I missed you too." The name had been Jake's suggestion, and it had stuck immediately. Hero, the runt of Bella's litter, had indeed turned out to be unsuitable for service work, not because he lacked intelligence or empathy, but because his exuberant personality made him too excitable for the focused calm needed in a service dog. As Jake had predicted, he was destined for a different path. "He's been watching the window for the past hour," Jake said as Emma's mother joined them. "I swear he knows exactly when you're scheduled to arrive." "How are the others doing?" Dr. Thompson asked, following Jake into the house while Emma and Hero engaged in their usual reunion ritual on the front lawn, a mixture of belly rubs, face licks, and playful wrestling. "Exceedingly well," Jake replied proudly. Liberty and Honor began their formal training last month. The trainers say they're among the most promising candidates they've seen. Grace is still working with the Children's Hospital for her assessment, but the early results are spectacular. She already alerted to a child seizure during her second visit, which is almost unheard of at her age. Inside the comfortable living room, Bella lounged on a large dog bed near the fireplace. Though her coat now covered the scars from the barbed wire, she still moved with a slight hitch in her gait, a permanent reminder of her ordeal. She raised her head at Emma's entrance, tail thumping in greeting. "Hi, Bella," Emma said, crossing to scratch behind the mother dog's ears. "You look beautiful today." Bella leaned into the touch, clearly enjoying the attention. The bond between them had only strengthened over the months, built on that foundation of trust established in their first desperate meeting. "Jake, the newspaper article came out today," Emma's mother said, pulling a folded section of the county paper from her bag. "They did a wonderful job with the follow-up story." Jake took the paper, examining the front page feature with its large photo of Bella's 3 puppies in their training vests, alongside a smaller picture of Emma and Hero. The headline read, "Local Hero Dog's Puppies Begin Service Training. A Storm Rescue Leads to New Hope for Children with Epilepsy." "Perfect timing," Jake said, clearly pleased. "The fundraiser is next weekend, and this publicity will definitely help." The case against the dog theft ring had generated significant public interest, which Jake had leveraged to expand his service dog training program. The upcoming fundraiser, featuring Bella and her puppies as the guests of honor, was expected to raise enough money to sponsor service dogs for at least 5 families who couldn't otherwise afford them. "Speaking of the fundraiser," Jake continued, setting down the newspaper, "I wanted to ask if Emma would be willing to say a few words at the event. Nothing formal, just sharing her experience finding Bella. Her perspective would mean a lot to the attendees." Emma looked up from where she was now sitting on the floor between Bella and Hero. "Me? Talk to all those people?" "Only if you want to," her mother assured her. "No pressure." Emma considered this. She'd become something of a local celebrity after the initial newspaper article, with classmates and even teachers treating her differently, sometimes uncomfortably so. But Jake had been careful to shield her from too much attention, declining multiple interview requests and television appearances on her behalf. "Will it help get more service dogs for kids who need them?" she asked finally. Jake nodded. "I believe it would. Your story touches people's hearts in a way that statistics and medical explanations simply can't." "Then I'll do it," Emma decided. "But can Hero come with me? I'd be less nervous with him there." "I think that could be arranged," Jake smiled. "He may not be a service dog, but he's certainly a comfort to you." Emma wrapped her arms around the puppy, who responded by licking her face enthusiastically. At 6 months old, Hero was growing into a handsome dog, though he would always be smaller than his siblings. What he lacked in size, however, he made up for in personality: intelligent, affectionate, and fiercely loyal, especially to Emma. "Have you made a decision yet?" Jake asked, directing the question to Emma's mother. Dr. Thompson sighed, but her expression was more resigned than reluctant. "We have. After seeing how well they've bonded, and considering Emma's demonstrated responsibility these past months, we've decided that Hero can come home with us after the fundraiser." Emma's head snapped up, her eyes wide with disbelief. "Really? For real? Hero's going to be mine?" Her mother nodded, smiling at her daughter's joy. "For real? Dad finished the fence last weekend, and your room is officially puppy-proofed. You've earned this, Emma." Emma could hardly contain her excitement. She had hoped and prayed for this outcome, dutifully completing all the puppy care research assignments her mother had given her, saving her allowance for dog supplies, and proving her responsibility during her weekly visits. But until this moment, nothing had been certain. "Did you hear that, Hero?" she whispered to the puppy, who tilted his head quizzically at her changed tone. "You're coming home with me soon?" "There are conditions, of course," her mother continued. "You'll be responsible for his daily care, feeding, walking, training, and he'll need to attend proper obedience classes." "I promise I'll do everything right," Emma vowed solemnly. "He'll be the best cared-for dog ever." "I don't doubt it," Jake said warmly. "I've never seen a child with a more natural understanding of dogs than you, Emma. Hero couldn't ask for a better home." The conversation turned to practical matters, the supplies they would need, the veterinary schedule, the training regimen Jake recommended. Emma half listened, too thrilled by the news to focus completely. Her very own dog, the puppy she had helped bring into the world, would now be part of her family. "Before I forget," Jake said, interrupting Emma's happy thoughts, "there's someone else who wants to see you today. She should be here any minute." As if on cue, the sound of tires on gravel announced another arrival. Emma peered curiously out the window. "Grandma Rose!" she exclaimed, recognizing the familiar station wagon. But it wasn't just her grandmother who emerged from the vehicle. A tall, gray-haired man stepped out from the passenger side, moving with the careful gait of someone still recovering from an injury. "Who's that with her?" Emma asked, not recognizing the stranger. Jake joined her at the window, his expression softening. "That's Thomas. He's a friend who's been helping me with some projects around the rescue center." Emma watched as the man offered his arm to Grandma Rose, not in a romantic way, but with the practical courtesy of someone accustomed to being helpful. More surprisingly, her fiercely independent grandmother accepted the assistance without protest. "They seem friendly," Emma observed. Jake exchanged a knowing look with Emma's mother. "They've become quite good friends these past few months. Thomas is a retired K-9 police handler. He started volunteering at the rescue after reading about Bella in the newspaper." The front door opened and Grandma Rose entered, followed by the tall stranger. Emma immediately noticed something different about her grandmother, a lightness to her movements, a brightness in her eyes that hadn't been there before. "There's my brave girl," Grandma Rose said warmly, opening her arms for a hug. "And the famous hero, too, I see." Emma hugged her grandmother tightly. Despite living just 20 minutes apart, they hadn't seen each other as often as usual these past months. Grandma Rose had mentioned being busy with projects, but hadn't elaborated. "Grandma, Mom says I can keep Hero. He's coming home with us after the fundraiser." "Is that so?" Grandma Rose said, though she didn't seem surprised. "Well, it's about time. That dog has been yours since the night he was born." The gray-haired man, Thomas, had knelt to greet Bella, who welcomed him like an old friend. "She's looking strong," he remarked to Jake. "The new physical therapy routine is working well." "Emma, this is Thomas Wilson," Jake introduced. "Thomas, this is Emma Thompson, the young hero who found Bella that night." Thomas stood, extending his hand to Emma with the seriousness one might offer an adult. "It's an honor to meet you properly, Emma. I've heard so much about you from your grandmother and Jake." Emma shook his hand, studying him curiously. There was something familiar about his manner, the way he interacted with the dogs, confident yet gentle, and the observant alertness in his eyes. "Thomas is helping Jake train a new generation of service dogs," Grandma Rose explained, pride evident in her voice. "He worked with police dogs for 30 years before retiring." "Did you know Bella before?" Emma asked, sensing a connection. Thomas nodded, his expression growing solemn. "I did. I helped train her when she first started as a service dog, before she came to Jake. We worked together for about 2 years. Thomas has been invaluable these past months," Jake added. "His experience with working dogs has transformed our training program." The adults settled in the living room, and Jake brought out refreshments. As they talked, Emma began to piece together the story that no one was directly telling her. The way Thomas looked at Grandma Rose when she wasn't watching. The way her grandmother seemed younger somehow, more vibrant. The mysterious projects that had kept her busy. The knowledge that he would soon be coming home with her permanently made it a little easier, but saying goodbye was still difficult. "I'll see you at the fundraiser next weekend," she whispered to the puppy, holding him close one last time. "And then you'll come home with me forever." Hero licked her face, as if sealing the promise. As they prepared to leave, Thomas approached Emma with something in his hands, a small, carefully crafted wooden box. "I made this for you," he said, presenting it to her. A token of appreciation for saving Bella. Emma opened the box to find a beautiful handmade collar, sized perfectly for a growing puppy. The leather was tooled with an intricate pattern of leaves and vines, and a small silver tag dangled from it, engraved with the name Hero on one side and Courage and Loyalty on the other. "It's beautiful," Emma breathed, running her fingers over the craftsmanship. "A special collar for a special dog," Thomas said. "Every hero should look the part." The goodbyes were warm but brief, with promises to meet again soon. As Emma climbed into her mother's car, she looked back at Jake's house, at Bella watching from the window with Hero at her side, at Jake and Thomas standing on the porch, at Grandma Rose following in her own car, and felt a profound sense of connection to them all. "You've created quite an extended family," her mother remarked, seeming to read her thoughts. "Because of Bella," Emma said. "Because of you," her mother corrected gently. "None of this would have happened if you hadn't been brave enough to help a dog in need." As they drove away, Emma cradled the wooden box with Hero's new collar, thinking about everything that had changed since that stormy night. She had discovered a strength within herself that she hadn't known existed. She had learned about keeping promises, about courage in the face of fear, about the special bond that could form between humans and animals. Most importantly, she had learned that even the smallest person could make a profound difference in the world, that acts of kindness and bravery created ripples that extended far beyond what one could see or imagine. 1 week later, Emma stood at a podium adjusted to her height, looking out at a room full of people gathered for Jake's fundraiser. Hero sat proudly at her side, resplendent in his new collar, the picture of canine dignity despite his smaller stature. "I wasn't trying to be brave," Emma said into the microphone, her voice clear and steady despite her nerves. "I just saw someone who needed help. Bella was scared and hurt, and she couldn't free herself. She needed a friend." She glanced down at Hero, who looked up at her with complete trust and adoration. "What I learned that night is that sometimes being brave just means not walking away when something is hard or scary. It means keeping your promises, even when it would be easier not to." The room was silent, every face turned toward the small girl and her loyal puppy. Bella and her puppies are going to help a lot of people now. Liberty and honor and grace will be service dogs for children who need them. And Hero, she placed her hand on the puppy's head, Hero will always remind me that miracles can happen on the stormiest nights, if you're brave enough to look for them. As applause filled the room, Emma felt a sense of completion, a perfect circle from that desperate night in the rain to this moment of celebration. Bella had been rescued, her puppies were thriving, and Hero was coming home with Emma at last. Whatever adventures lay ahead, they would face them together with the courage and loyalty that had brought them this far. And in homes across the county, later that week, families watched the local news coverage of the event, touched by the story of a little girl who had risked everything to save a pregnant dog caught in barbed wire, and the remarkable puppies who would carry that legacy of courage forward into the world. What act of kindness or bravery have you witnessed that touched your heart? Share your story in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video if it moved you.